guys are doing very well tonight. So I just decided to make this short clip and kind of to go over a little bit of refactoring because I don't like the way this function looks like. It, it is doing two things at the same time. It's first downloading the data and it's just parsing the data. And if you know what the solid principle is, it means a function should only be doing one thing at the time, and the function should only have one reason to change. However, the function that we wrote has actually two reasons to change. First, if the manager come and say, hey, what's up guys, I don't want you to use URL session no more, I want you to use the third-party framework a little more fire, what you're gonna do, you'll have to come to this function and change it, right? And if the manager come again and say, hey, I don't want you guys to parse our data using JSON decoder, I want you guys to use JSON serialization or any other parser out there, so you will have to come inside of fetch top 100 album and change it. So fetch top 100 album has two reasons to change, which is not what we want. Okay, so why don't we just go ahead now and remove this logic, the parsing logic, and then put it inside of another function and then call that function here, just quote unquote do a kind of encapsulation. Let me go ahead and cut this out. So I cut the parser. Okay, wait, okay, let me cut this out. Parse here. Okay, let's go ahead and create a new function inside of our API, a new folder, a new file basically, and let's call it data parse. It's going to be a structure, data parse. Let's just go ahead and create a static function. Let's call it parser. Let's paste our function, our logic that we copied. Alright, now you're gonna say, hey, we don't have data no more. Well, we can just pass it as an argument with data, type data. Now it's complaining it's going to go, and instead of just passing creating the JSON decoder here, let's go ahead and pass it as an argument as well, and decoding, which is of type JSON decoder. Now let's get rid of this. Okay, cool. So what happened now, we cannot execute any completion block here because it's not inside of, we don't have an escape value. So what we want to do is just, if it succeeds, don't do nothing. If there is an error, we need to return an array of our model. Let's make it of type optional. What does the optional mean? It can be, I can return nil, or I can return an array of our model. We'll return nil when there is an error. Return nil. Okay. If there is no error, just go ahead and return this album. Alright, cool. Come back. Now let's call that function. Data parse. The parser. It needs two argument data Let's feed it with this data above and JSON decoder. Let's go ahead and create our JSON decoder. And we need to store it somewhere, right? Let albums equal. What we want to do, we want to execute the completion handler with the album that we have stored. Okay, let's go ahead and do it. Now completion, if it is a success, which is the case, return the array of albums. But it's an optional, right? Isn't it? Yes, it is an optional. We need to unwrap the optional and we need to do it safely. I can just go ahead and do the bank operator and it's going to work. But if it happens, it's nil because we're returning nil here. If we catch an error, it means our application is going to crash and we don't want to do the bank operator. Now what we want to do, we want to safely guard the album. Let's go ahead and do it. Guard let albums equal etc. If it doesn't work, just execute a completion handler with a failure case. All right, what is the type of network error? Parsing failed. Yeah, now we can just go ahead and safely pass the album since it's unwrapped now. Again, execute the return. Okay guys, it looked perfect. Now let's just go ahead and make sure. Let's go ahead on our feed controller and make sure it's working just the way it's supposed to do. And we will run a little bit of refactoring on feed as well, because right now if you see we have everything packed up in the view controller, in the view did load, and that is not what we want. So just go ahead and encapsulate this part. Okay, we will create a new extension, a new function, and put that into the function and just call that function here. But first thing first, let's make sure our algorithm is working just fine. Okay, it's not working. Actually, it is working. You guys see, it's working perfect. All right, now let's go ahead and encapsulate this part right here. Just go ahead and cut that out and call a function called fetch albums. We haven't created the function yet, so it's going to fail. It's going to show us an error. Let's go ahead and mark this out. Let's call it fetching. Let's create an extension. Okay, what are we extending? Feed. Now let's go ahead and create this function. Let's make it a file private by default. Let's call it fetch albums, just like so, and then paste that out. And let's run one more time and see if it's going to work. Now if you guys take a look at it, the code is a little bit cleaner. Always guys, if you have a comment, I always forget to mention that if you have a comment, please just drop it down and I will answer. All right, it's working now. You guys see the data. Okay, so just go over the video again. If you have any question, please just leave that in the comments below and I will answer it. And what we will be doing next is just populating the data in the table view. So we will be creating a table view and then yeah, take this data that we're getting and put it in individual cells. Yeah guys, so if you like the video, please just share and subscribe. All right, thank you guys and see you next.